Two things. This video is sponsored by Brooklyn Bedding, and I'm old. Now, I'm aware of this for many different reasons. Gray hair, back pain, but also Pokémon came out when I was in college. Now that means that it just didn't hit with me. I honestly wasn't even aware of it for many, many years. But I've got 4 kids, and they're into Pokémon. And even if it's not something that I'm totally into, I like to be interested in what my kids are interested in. So now I collect Pokémon. Now, this is something I really don't know much about, but it's just cool to be interested in something that my kids are interested in. But along the way, I've ended up collecting a whole bunch of these, and I just put them in the cheapest binder I could find because most of them are not worth anything. Most of them. Now, the other day I had some beginner's luck and I opened a pack of cards and I got what collectors call a God pack. And this is basically where every card is worth a pretty significant amount of money. Most of these cards need to be protected and graded and all that stuff. So I'm gonna set these aside, but it got me thinking about how to protect the other cards, which got me thinking more about binders. Now, this was a cheap binder that I got from Target, I think, and it works fine for holding a bunch of cards, but I'm learning more about protecting cards and the different types of binders and sleeves that people use, and I'm really new to all this, so I'm learning stuff all the time. And even though I have this one, my kids got this one, which I think is much cooler. Now, this one is also cheap from Amazon, I think, but it's cooler. It's smaller, it's got the metal rings on the inside, and you can open and close and take these sheets out and swap them with different types of things. I think I want to make one of these. Now, I did go down the whole thought process of making one similar to that with leather and a zipper and straps and all that stuff, but honestly, it's a lot of work for something that I can buy pretty cheaply. So if I'm gonna make one, I think it needs to be kind of unique. And for the record, when I say unique, I don't mean this is a great idea, I just mean unique. So I picked up some materials just to try to figure this idea out a little bit. First, I've got some pages. These will hold 4 cards per each side, but they've also got holes down the side for a 3-ring binder. And I also bought 3-ring binder replacement parts. You can actually get these to replace broken ones, but you can also use them to make new binders. And then, on top of that, I got some acrylic. I got some red, I got some yellow, and I already have black and white. So I think between all those different colors, we can come up with something interesting because this whole thing is gonna be an acrylic box. Now, obviously, with pages this small, this is not gonna be like the binder to hold all of my cards. This is gonna be the binder to hold the cards that are not really worth that much, but I think look pretty cool, and I wanna have them all in one place. Put a trademark symbol on that. So because it's small, I'm thinking that the box is really just enough to go on the outside of these pages. Then there'll be a strip with the spine on it, and then another side. And these things will all clamshell together, but we'll have walls so that when they close, nothing is exposed, nothing can fall out. And honestly, that's kind of as far as I've thought through it. With the exception of the hinge, we've got to figure out how to hinge all 3 of these pieces together. And I've thought of several ideas. Now, a lot of these ideas are based on fabric hinges, where you have 2 hard surfaces with a piece of fabric that crosses them and is attached to them, and that piece of fabric just bends and acts as a hinge. Now, this works out really well. You have a piece of fabric with then some sort of a hard side and a hard side, and it just bends across this piece. In fact, you can make it even stronger by putting another layer and sandwiching the fabric in between 2 hard things. This works well. In fact, my podcast mate and friend, David Picciuto, made a wooden trapper keeper a while back using this method, and it's awesome. But for my case, there's a couple of downsides. One, you want to have double pieces here, so it's really sandwiched together, and that makes it twice as thick. Or you could run some sort of a fastener through all of it, and I don't really want fasteners on the outside if I can help it. Now, if you look at the one that my kids bought, it actually has the rings in the middle, but the outer cover is the hinge. It's one big flexible piece of material that just bends around. And that would work, but I don't really want to do that. So I ordered something that I've used before and they work super well, and that's acrylic hinges. They are hinges made out of acrylic that you can glue to the sides and put them on the inside so they're completely hidden. But unfortunately, the hinges are not here yet, so I can't really show them to you. But we can start working on laying out and figuring out the sizes for the rest of the thing. My plan is to do black acrylic for these 3 pieces. And then this section along here, use a different color just so it stands out and looks like a book when it's closed up. So I think my first step here is to figure out what the size of the outside panels are, because the design doesn't really matter until I know what the covers are and what the spine are gonna be. And that's all gonna be based on how these things fit together and the hinges, which I think might have shown up now. They did. Let me show you these really quickly. Black acrylic hinges with no holes in them, which I guess you could drill if you needed to, but the cool thing is that they're flat and acrylic, so you can glue them to other acrylic and they just bond together. They are too long though, so I'm gonna have to cut them down. All right, that was easy enough. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these down on the table saw because they're just rectangles, but I have a special blade for it. Now, you certainly can use a regular saw blade to cut plastics. This one's made specifically for plexiglass and plastics. It's got 80 teeth on it, but the big thing about it is that it doesn't chip out. It actually cuts through and kind of melts the plastic, so it's a nice clean edge. Now, even with the right blade, it throws a lot of like particles and little chip things. These were important, but also it just kind of makes a mess. But anyway, now I've got the two covers and the spine. So these are my final dimensions to start working on the design for it. I don't really know about design. I'm not a designer. So I'm gonna go to Etsy and try to find some digital files that I can purchase from other people, from artists, that I can use to make something really cool on the outside of this. But I also have to cut down the hinges. These are longer than my spine. I do want to push them up a little bit so you don't see the hinge as easily on the bottom or the top. And I want to line up my cut with one of the hinge marks. So I'll just find where that spot is and then cut it on the table saw. Now I have short hinges. All these pieces are black, so I know this is a little bit difficult to see, but I want to make sure that I can get them all laid out correctly and figure out where to put everything. So both of these hinges should basically touch each other on the inside. The edges of the spine and the panels could probably touch, but I'm going to try not to make that happen just so there's a little bit of room for things to move. There are several ways to attach acrylic to acrylic, but one of the best ways is to use acrylic glue. It's a solvent, and it basically chemically bonds the two pieces together so that they will not come apart. You use something like this, but unfortunately this can is almost entirely empty. There is a little bit left, so I might be able to get the hinges stuck on today, but the rest of it won't be here until tomorrow. I also have this, which is the same stuff, but thicker. This is basically thinner than water, so when you put a drop of it, the capillary action of the surface sucks it down into all the little crevices and you don't really see it. This stuff is thicker. It's more like a gel, which is great in certain situations, but you can also usually see where it's put on. I'll use this if I have to, but for now, I'm going to use what's left of this to try to get the hinges attached to the panels. It's not enough in there to be drawn out. Dang it. So I don't want anything to move. I'm going to tape the spine down. I'm going to use these two pieces as the spacer. And I'm going to tape all of these down so nothing can move while I glue it together. Now this stuff does cure or do its work pretty quickly usually, especially the thin stuff. It's almost instant. The thicker it is, the more time it takes for it to actually attach the pieces. So I'm gonna leave it for a couple of minutes, but I wanted to point something out. When I get the thin stuff, you use a needle and you fill this up and you just barely put it in a seam. The capillary action pulls it down in between the different pieces that you're trying to connect. I'm definitely gonna do that along these outside edges just to make sure that this thing is really tied together. Because if the covers fall off, it's not a very good binder. Now another thing I can do while I'm waiting on that adhesive to show up is actually put this on, or at least prepare to put it on. I need to drill 2 holes right through here in this spine. Luckily I've got a little divot there that will make it easy to find that center point, but I have to drill those holes both through the hinges and through the back panel. And then I'll connect it on with these little Chicago screw things. These are cool. I think these are called Chicago screws, but I'm not really sure. It's a 2-part screw. Basically, it's a regular screw, but then also a female version of it so that you can put them together and then twist them and they lock into each other. And the outside of it is pretty smooth on both sides. It's beneficial to go through something rather than into something, if that makes any sense. I guess I should make sure that my hinge is actually attached and this thing works as a book. All right, there's more gap here than I wanted. So I guess I probably should have put them all the way closed, like together, although it wouldn't have really changed it that much. Luckily it's all black, so it looks fine. Well, while I'm waiting on that glue to show up, I can go ahead and start building the inside structure of this, because basically I want it to close to where the sides are parallel. So what I'm thinking here is that if this is the front cover, it's gonna have a wall that goes around that is the full thickness of the book. And then the back cover is gonna have a similar wall, but it's not gonna be as thick, and it's gonna be a little bit smaller so it can fit into the walls of the front. I'll just start laying it out and you'll probably see what I mean. I'm gonna set this to 1/4 inch and scribe a line along the outside, and this is gonna be where the outside edge of my walls will sit. This video is sponsored by Brooklyn Bedding, which is fantastic because I'm actually sitting on a mattress from Brooklyn Bedding and we love it. We've had it for a little bit over a year and it's just fantastic. I sleep on my stomach, my wife sleeps on her back, so we had to find a mattress that would work for both of us. We got the Sedona Elite, which is like a medium firmness. It has a cooling top on it so I don't get too hot, but that medium firmness actually works out really well for both of us. Getting the mattress was super easy because it shipped for free and it came in a box. So we just kind of threw the box on top of the bed, opened the bag, and it just flopped into place. Not only do these ship from the US and Arizona, they're also designed and assembled there. And since you're getting these mattresses pretty much directly from the factory, there's no markup, which means you get a great price on a really high quality mattress. Now, once you get a mattress from Brooklyn Bedding, you can sleep on it for 120 nights. You really get to try it out. I mean, mattresses are not one of those things that you can sleep on for a couple of nights and see if you like it. You gotta see how your body reacts to it. So 120 nights allows you to feel whether the mattress is right for you. Plus, it's got a limited lifetime warranty. Also, I want to throw this out there. If you happen to have a health savings account, you can actually use that HSA to buy the mattress, which is pretty fantastic. Now, you're going to want to go over to brooklynbedding.com or use the QR code on the screen. Take the sleep quiz so you can figure out exactly which mattress is going to fit you best. Then when you use the code ILikeToMakeStuff at checkout, you're going to get 30% off your mattress, which is just like, that's just a fantastic deal. So if you're in the market for a mattress, I highly recommend Brooklyn Bedding. Go check them out. Again, brooklynbedding.com, or use the QR code and use the code ILikeToMakeStuff at checkout. Huge thanks to Brooklyn Bedding for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. Not sure how I feel about that. It's a box. I mean, it would be fine if it was just you were reaching and pulling things out, but if you're reaching in one side to flip a page over, this is pretty deep to put your hands in. So rather than having one side go all the way, I think I'm gonna have to have both sides go halfway and figure out how to make them snap together. And I have an idea. Magnets are always a great idea, but I think in this case it might be a little bit difficult to attach a magnet to an 1/8 inch piece of acrylic in the corner. So imagine that this is the profile that I want to connect, both the top and the bottom. I think I could easily just 3D print a little corner piece here that would both strengthen the corner but also give me a flat surface to be able to embed a magnet both on the top and the bottom so that the two sides snap together. The acrylic cement showed up over the weekend, but while I was waiting on it, I ended up going ahead and working on the art for the outside of the binder. I went to Etsy and found some artists who made some really cool Pokémon art, and I bought it. Then I imported that into Affinity, which is a free design software, by the way, and then I laid out the different pieces so that I could cut them out of acrylic on the laser. We'll get to that in a minute, but right now we need to use this to put the box together. Now, the thing about acrylic cement is that it's super thin, like I mentioned before, which means it goes everywhere, not just where you want it to go. So you have to be really careful about how much you apply and where you put it, because it's gonna get drawn into all the little points where two things touch and there's a tiny little air gap. I'm not exactly sure how it works. You just gotta be really careful with it. You also don't need very much of it. So instead of trying to pour this into this bottle and spill some of it, I'm gonna use this bottle with a needle on the end of it to actually draw it up out of this container. And I learned my lesson. This is gonna go in a plastic bag when I'm done with it so it doesn't evaporate. See, there's barely any in there, but that's way more than I will need to do this whole thing probably. All right, so I have to be really careful about this because I wanna make sure that these pieces line up with those pieces when it's closed, which means I can measure from the outside edge in to make sure that they're in the same position. I'm gonna use a scrap piece lined up with the outside edge of the black, and then lay the piece that I want to put in place up against that. And that's gonna give me its position. And I'm just gonna do my best to hold it in place and then support it with these 1, 2, 3 blocks, which are heavy and steel and should hold it in place while I glue it. All right, that piece is in its right place, and I'm not gonna touch it for a second. I wanna practice this because this is something that's messed me up many times. With even a little bit of this cement in here, if you just tilt this over, it's gonna start coming out. Even though it's a thin needle, it's just gonna come out. What you have to do is actually squeeze it a little bit, then turn it over, and then let it open. And as it lets air in, it will drop out a little bit of the liquid. You can do it really quickly and you get kind of 1 drop at a time. But I haven't done this in a while and I wanna practice it. Okay, so I'm gonna squeeze it just a little bit, then tilt it, get it into place. I didn't even have to let go of it. It really started coming out. But it did get drawn into the entire seam, which is a good thing. And it really should happen pretty quickly. Yep. That's how it works. That works super well. Wish me luck. Ah, dang it, it did it again. So the big drop came out of the end of the, it's still doing it. So now I have a big drop here, which you'll be able to see later. I did it again. I'm not sure how to avoid that because it's just doing it again. Okay, so that's one of the problems. It worked, it's connected, but I have a little bit of kind of surface mutilation from the cement. It basically got drawn underneath the metal, liquefied the plastic, which wouldn't stick to the metal, but it changed the surface. So instead of a nice, smooth, glossy surface, now I have this like texture to it, and a little bit of it stuck to the metal here. Ultimately, it's on the inside of a thing that is just for fun, so it's not a big deal. But that is one of the things you need to look out for when you're using acrylic cement. It's very finicky. That actually worked out pretty well, but now I've got to figure out how to keep it closed. I mentioned magnets earlier. So I modeled these little corner pieces with a recess for a magnet. And so I just have to stick the magnets in these and then they will go in the corners so that the book will stay shut when the magnets touch. So now each one of these goes in the corner and they snap together. Now I can't use acrylic cement to attach the 3D print to the acrylic. It's just a different type of plastic, but super glue works perfectly. I guess technically it's CA glue, not super glue, but whatever. Now if you're doing this and you're tempted to use some activator to make it set up faster, don't. Because the activator on the acrylic is gonna leave like a white haze and it's gonna look terrible. Using these 1, 2, 3 blocks to draw it up to make sure that it's flush with the top. Okay, let's see if this works. Oh, that's a nice little snap there. Oh, that's good. That's very good. All right, that is pretty cool. But now, we gotta work on the back. Let's go laser cut a Pikachu. All right, I really hope this looks cool, because it might not. Big dots right there. Dang it, man, this thing. So it seems like after you're done doing it, you gotta like push air out to clear out the nozzle so it doesn't drip. So it just dawned on me as I was struggling with getting the cement in all the places, these are big flat pieces that are stuck to other flat pieces, which means I should have just used the thicker stuff. There's no reason to use the thin stuff in this particular situation. The thick stuff would be easier to deal with, it would bond just fine, and actually maybe even better because there's more surface coverage. Learn from my mistake. I've got just a couple of pieces that are different colors, little tiny detail pieces that I think will be cool, but they might be difficult to put in place. Okay, done. I gotta admit, that was pretty nerve-wracking. I just feel like I was gonna mess up the entire surface, but I think it worked out all right. There's a couple little drips, but you know, don't tell anybody. Now, we have to drill some holes in it. Now, drilling these holes can be a little bit tricky. One, because acrylic is brittle, and if you go too fast, it'll just shatter. So I have to take my time and do not try to go in a hurry. But the other thing is that this hole right here actually goes through the point where these two pieces overlap. Like, it doesn't go through both of them, it goes through 1.5, like right on the edge. So I really have to take my time there and just hope that it doesn't break apart. Now for the one that doesn't go through both pieces, I'm gonna use a little piece of scrap just as a spacer to make sure that there's nothing pushing down here, there's no void behind the piece. I think that bit is bent. That looks like it has some wobble to it. Okay, that looks better. Tough to see, but it's a very clean hole. So for this area right here where it's gonna come through, I'm just gonna go ahead and tape that in place so it won't try to like skip off the side as it goes through. I mean, it might still try to do that, but hopefully not. Okay, so that worked. I mean, it didn't shatter, but it occurred to me that because that hole is going through the very edge of a piece, when I put the fastener on, the fastener is not gonna be sitting flat against something. It's gonna be kind of halfway on something. So I'm not really sure how that's gonna work. I mean, it might work all right. Ooh, my holes don't line up. Oh no. I mean, they're close, but they're not right. How did that happen? I don't even understand how that happened because I like marked these holes in place, but luckily it's only off a little bit, like less than the thickness of the head of this. So I'm gonna have to drill another hole next to the first one and you won't see it once this is in place. Still, lame. All right, I'm gonna have to tear out a little bit of the yellow to make room for the screw, unfortunately. That'll do it. The screws are just barely long enough, but they are long enough. So now I have a working binder. One of the downsides of using glossy acrylic for this, or anything else, is that it picks up every little speck of dust and fingerprint and you can see it all. And in the shop, that's really bad. So I'm gonna clean this thing up and then we're gonna finish it up in the office. Still got some space in here, obviously, but I've filled it up with a bunch of the cards that I've collected so far, which means it's done. This was not efficient, not cost effective, but it was really cool. I'm super happy with how this thing turned out, and I think it looks awesome. This is not something I ever thought that I would make, but it was a lot of fun, and it was also really fun to use the wrong material for a cool object. If you've got some other ideas of how I could have done this differently, or if you want to tell me your favorite Pokemon, let me know down in the comments because I want to look out for the cool ones. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll catch you next time. I'm gonna start talking in the middle of this. That's why I'm doing this. Squishy, the squirter thingy doesn't work. My plant, and it only affected the plastic under there, but it kind of liquefied it, which meant that once it, I can't talk. I don't think I ever would have thought. I never would have thought to build. All right.